Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at this really fascinating book that kind of um, takes a look at health and healing in a very, very different way.
Yeah.
Goes through a lot of different things like modern medicine and meditation, even the human energy system, and like how food can affect our consciousness. So
Yeah, it's really, really interesting.
I think this is going to be a pretty wild ride.
I think so too. One of the things that I found most fascinating about this book is how it talks about health.
Yeah,
It doesn't just say like, oh, the absence of disease is health.
right.
It takes it a step further.
It does. It talks about it as like this positive state of wholeness.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
this energy that flows through like every part of who we are.
Absolutely. It's a perspective that says like, hey, let's not just treat the symptoms.
Right.
Let's look at what's causing this in the first place.
Yeah.
Like get to the root of it. And so the book actually, explores a bunch of different ways to heal, right?
Yeah.
So some things that we're all pretty familiar with, like naturopathy. Yeah.
Some things that are kind of out there like homeopathy, acupuncture.
Hmm.
Have you tried acupuncture?
I have not.
Yeah.
I've always been a little scared of needles. But,
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's interesting. So, and what the book does is it goes into each of these systems
yeah.
and says like, they work because they're actually stimulating the body to heal itself.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. And one concept I thought was super interesting was this idea of the vital body.
Ooh, yeah, the vital body.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah. It's kind of like it comes from these like Eastern traditions.
Yes, exactly.
And it describes like this energy body.
Yes.
That's like alongside our physical body.
Right alongside it. And you know what's cool is it has all these acupuncture points
Right. Yeah.
that match up with different organs and functions.
Yeah. They even talk about Kirlian photography, which I'd never heard of.
Oh, tell me about it.
It's supposed to be this technique that can like capture pictures of the aura.
And they present that as like, possible evidence that this energy system actually exists.
That's really cool.
I know,
Whoa.
right?
Mm.
So speaking of things that are beyond the ordinary, the book also talks about how much belief can play a part in healing,
Yes.
especially with the placebo effect.
The placebo effect is a great example.
It is. It was wild.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It shows how much our beliefs and what we expect can affect how we feel physically.
For sure.
I mean, they've done studies where people get better from treatments that are totally,
Fake. Like sugar pills.
like sugar
Ah.
pills. And it's just because they think it's going to help.
Just because they believe.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It makes you think about, like,
It does.
all the
right?
possibilities if we could, like, really harness the power of our minds.
Oh, absolutely. What if we could really tap into that?
I know, right? And, the book doesn't shy away from some things that people might think are a little controversial, like hypnosis.
Oh, yeah. Hypnosis for sure.
Yeah, and it has, like, such a long history.
Such a long history. Yeah.
It's been used for so many different things, good and bad.
Good and bad. Yeah. It's fascinating.
Yeah. And the book goes into why it's been suppressed in the past, like how some religious institutions saw it as a threat,
Yeah.
which makes sense.
It does.
When something challenges power or beliefs, there's going to be pushback.
Always pushback.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes you think about all those practices throughout history that were shut down just because they explored human potential.
Totally. But the book says that when self-hypnosis is used ethically,
Right.
it can actually be a really powerful tool,
It can.
especially for personal transformation and like when it's used with meditation.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
you're going into your subconscious and maybe changing those deep-seated beliefs and patterns.
Right. The things that are holding us back.
Exactly.
So that brings us to another really cool concept the book talks about. This relationship between tension and relaxation.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
So the book says that we often feel tense
Mm-hmm.
because we're always trying to become something we're not.
Yes.
Yes.
Like we're striving.
Yeah, like we're holding on to this ideal version of ourselves or our lives that just doesn't exist.
And it creates so much tension.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, what if we just accepted where we are right now? That's where relaxation comes in.
Yeah. Like truly accepting who we are in this moment.
Yes.
Without judgment, without needing to change.
It's a huge shift in perspective. Instead of chasing some external goal,
Yeah.
we can find peace and contentment just by being.
Just by being present.
Yes.
And the book gives some really practical advice on how to cultivate relaxation through mindful practices like slow walking, eating, and breathing.
Oh, yeah. The simple things.
They seem simple,
They do.
but they can be so powerful.
Incredibly powerful.
Yeah, like if we can slow down,
Just slow down.
yeah, and pay attention to what we're feeling in this moment,
Mhm.
it helps us reconnect with ourselves
Absolutely.
and find some calm in the chaos.
Yeah. It's like shifting from doing to being,
Yes,
from striving to accepting, realizing that we're already whole.
we are.
We are already complete.
And that peace and happiness come from within,
From within, not outside.
not outside, yeah. And I love how the book reframes stress.
Oh,
It
stress.
says we shouldn't see it as this enemy
Right.
that we have to avoid.
That we have to fight.
Yeah. Instead, we should accept it
Accept.
as like a signal from our body.
Like a message.
Yeah. Like our body's trying to communicate with us.
Saying, hey, something is up.
Yeah. It might be telling us to rest or rethink our priorities.
Or deal with something that's been bugging us.
Yeah. So different from how we usually see stress.
It's a total 180.
Right. Maybe if we listen to our bodies and treat ourselves with kindness and care.
With compassion.
Yeah, maybe stress could become like a guide.
I love that. A guide instead of a foe.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about something we often try to ignore. Depression.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah. The book has some interesting thoughts on this.
What's it say?
It suggests that depression often comes from this idea of delayed gratification.
Oh, interesting.
Like this belief that we'll be happy later once we achieve certain things, you know?
Once we get that promotion.
Yeah, or reach that goal.
Get that house.
Yeah, exactly. But we're always told to work hard, sacrifice now.
And enjoy later.
Yeah. But what if later never comes?
Right.
Or what if we get all those things
And we're still empty.
and we're still miserable?
It happens.
Yeah. So the book stresses the importance of finding fulfillment now.
In this moment.
Yeah. Feeling joy and purpose today, not putting it off for some imaginary tomorrow.
So important.
Right. And that reminds me of what they say about addiction.
Oh, addiction. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's drugs or entertainment or even work.
Workaholics.
Yeah. The book says it all comes from a lack of fulfillment.
It's like trying to fill a hole with something outside of yourself.
And it never really works.
It never quite fits.
No. It's like we're missing that connection, meaning purpose.
Yeah, the real stuff.
Right. Maybe true fulfillment comes from taking care of our inner world.
From connecting with our passions, our values.
Yes. So let's talk about food. Everyone eats.
Everyone eats.
Right. And the book has some really different ideas about diet.
Different how?
Well, it goes against all those crazy restrictive diets and rules we see everywhere.
Oh, good.
I know, right? It encourages us to have a more mindful relationship with food.
Mindful and joyful.
Exactly. Not obsessing over calories or following strict rules.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah. Listen to our bodies. Eat when we're hungry. Stop when we're full.
Trust our intuition.
Yes. And the book talks about how food and love are connected psychologically.
That's interesting.
Right. Like, we often overeat when we feel emotionally empty.
Oh, yeah. Emotional eating.
Yeah. It makes sense. Food is often connected to comfort and love, especially when we're kids.
It makes sense that we turn to it when we're feeling down.
Totally.
Yeah.
But the book says we need to deal with those emotional needs in the healthy ways.
Right. Find other ways to nurture ourselves.
Exactly. Okay, so next up, let's talk about the mind.
Ooh, the mind. What does it say?
It makes this really bold statement that the mind isn't really who we are.
Whoa, hold on.
I know, right?
If the mind isn't us, then what are we?
That's the big question.
Right.
But the book says that the mind is just this collection of thoughts.
And beliefs.
Yeah, and conditioned beliefs that we've picked up along the way.
So we're not our thoughts.
That's what the book is saying.
Wow.
It says that we identify so strongly with our thoughts and emotions that we forget who we really are beneath all that mental noise.
That's deep.
Right.
So how do we figure out who we really are?
Well, the book suggests meditation.
Meditation, yeah?
It says that meditation can help us go beyond the limitations of the mind.
And tap into something deeper.
Yeah, like this pure awareness that's beyond thought and emotion.
Like quieting the mental chatter.
Exactly.
And experiencing that stillness.
Yeah. It sounds like a journey of self-discovery,
It does.
like peeling back the layers to reveal our true nature.
I like that.
Okay, let's get a little more practical now.
Okay.
What about specific physical problems like cancer and headaches?
Oh, good question.
The book hints at what might cause them.
What does it say?
It suggests they can be linked to repressed emotions,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, and unresolved psychological conflicts.
Like those emotions get stuck in our bodies.
And eventually they show up as physical symptoms.
Wow, the mind-body connection.
Right. It's a reminder that our physical and mental health are totally intertwined.
Can't have one without the other.
Exactly. And that real healing means addressing both.
So we need to explore our emotions.
Yeah, and deal with any unresolved trauma or emotional wounds.
It's all connected.
It is. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about something we all do constantly. Breathe.
Breathing, yes.
The book dives into the breath and how it's connected to our emotional and mental states.
It's true. Our breath changes depending on how we feel.
Right. Like when we're anxious, our breath is shallow and fast.
And when we're relaxed, it's slow and deep.
Exactly. So the book says that if we can control our breath,
Through breathwork techniques.
yeah, we can actually calm our minds.
And access deeper states of consciousness.
Things like diaphragmatic breathing, alternate nostril breathing.
Those are powerful practices.
Yeah. They've been used in yoga for centuries.
They really work.
The book encourages us to try breath work as a tool for self-regulation and healing.
I like that.
It's like we have this power within us to change how we feel.
Just by changing our breath.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about chakras.
Ooh, chakras. Those swirling energy centers.
Yeah, the book goes deep into the human energy system.
And how it affects spiritual growth.
It talks about each chakra, the qualities it's connected to,
And how blockages in these centers can cause problems.
physically and psychologically.
It's fascinating to think about this energy dimension to our being.
I know, right?
Like these invisible forces that influence our well-being.
The book really breaks down each chakra.
Where it is, what it's all about, and what happens when it's blocked.
Yeah, and they make this distinction between the hara, the death center, and the sex center, the life center.
That's a new one for me.
Right. So the hara is in the lower abdomen,
Okay.
and it's all about grounded presence and vitality.
It's interesting how different cultures view these energy centers.
It is. Like in Japan, the hara is super important.
It is,
It's
yeah.
connected to harakiri, which was seen as this honorable way to die.
Wow. That's powerful.
It is. So speaking of death, let's talk about aging and dying.
Ooh, big topic.
The book has some thought-provoking ideas about what a natural death really means.
It's not just about dying of old age, right?
Right. It's about living in alignment with nature.
Living in harmony.
Yeah, and consciously letting go when it's time, not clinging to life.
It's a beautiful concept.
It is. But it brings up tough questions about end-of-life care and personal choices.
For sure.
And the book doesn't shy away from those tough conversations.
It doesn't.
It even talks about euthanasia and suicide. It advocates for compassion and letting people have more control over how and when they die.
That's a really sensitive topic.
It is, but the book encourages open and honest discussions about death.
And respecting individual choice.
Yes. Okay, ready to go even deeper?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
The book explores the nature of consciousness and says that humanity can evolve beyond our current limits.
Beyond our limits.
Yeah. It imagines a future where science and spirituality work together.
To create a more conscious and enlightened society.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And get this, they propose scientific birth,
Scientific birth? What's that?
like babies conceived in labs.
Wow.
It could eliminate so many problems with natural birth.
And maybe lead to a more evolved human species.
That's the idea.
That's a big idea.
It is. It makes you think, right?
It does. This book really challenges conventional thinking.
It does. It pushes us to consider new possibilities.
For health, healing, and the future of humanity.
Right. All right, before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, let's circle back to laughter. Yeah, the book says it's a path to liberation from the mind.
That makes sense. Laughter can be so freeing.
I know, right? They even talk about Zen monasteries where they incorporate laughter into their daily practice.
That's amazing. It reminds us that spirituality doesn't have to be serious all the time.
Exactly. It can be joyful and lighthearted.
I love that.
Me too. I think that's one of the most important messages of this book.
Yeah.
To embrace life fully with all its ups and downs.
And to find that inner peace and contentment that helps us navigate it all.
Yes. And to remember that we're not alone on this journey.
We're all interconnected.
Yeah. And we can learn from and support each other along the way.
That's beautiful. This book really emphasizes that sense of shared humanity.
It does. It's a vision of a world where healing is about wholeness, connection, and well-being for everyone.
It's a powerful vision.
It is. So that's it for part one of our deep dive into this amazing book.
Wow, that was a lot to take in.
I know, right? This book is packed with so many fascinating ideas.
It really is. It makes you think about health and healing in a whole new way.
It does. We've just scratched the surface, but I hope it's given you some food for thought.
Definitely. I'm already looking forward to diving into the next part.
Me too. We'll be back soon to explore even more thought-provoking concepts from this book.
Yeah.
Until then, keep those minds open and those hearts curious.
See you soon. And you know what I really appreciate about this book is how it reminds us that we have the power to heal ourselves.
Yeah.
We can create a life of joy and meaning and well-being, and it's not about finding some magic pill
Yeah.
or some external solution.
Right.
It's really about tapping into that wisdom
Yeah.
and that healing capacity that's already within us.
Yeah, and I like how the book encourages us to question what we think we know
Yeah.
and to be open to different perspectives.
Yeah.
It's not saying it has all the answers,
Right.
but it makes you think, and it makes you reconsider how you think about health and healing.
Exactly, and that's what's so great about it. It's not like a set of rules
Right.
or dogma.
Yeah.
It's more like a guide,
Yeah.
a companion on this journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
Just saying, hey, be curious,
Yeah.
experiment, find what works for you.
Yeah, I like that it acknowledges that, like, being human is complicated.
It is.
It doesn't try to simplify things too much. Like,
Rich.
it embraces the messiness and the contradictions
Yeah.
and, like, the wisdom that our bodies and minds already have.
Yeah, we're not broken machines that need fixing.
Right.
We're these intricate beings.
Yes.
With this amazing ability to heal and grow.
And the book also talks about the power of laughter as a form of meditation.
Laughter is meditation.
Yeah, like a way to escape the grip of the mind
Oh, I like that.
and just experience pure joy and freedom.
Yeah. Sometimes we take ourselves way too seriously.
Lively.
We need to find the humor in things.
Yeah.
Lighten up a bit.
Be more playful.
Exact.
That reminds me of what they say about mindful eating.
Mindful eating.
Yeah, like really savoring each bite.
Oh, yeah.
Paying attention to the taste, the texture. Yes. Being present with your food.
Appreciate the nourishment.
Yes.
Be grateful for it.
Yes. But the book also warns against using food to numb our emotions.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
Right. Or to fill some emptiness inside.
It's like we're trying to fix an emotional problem with food.
Exactly. And the book says we need to figure out what those emotional needs are.
And find healthier ways to deal with them.
Right. So let's talk about the breath.
The breath. Okay.
The book highlights how connected our breath is to our emotions.
Yeah, totally.
Like if you're anxious or stressed, your breath gets all shallow and rapid.
But when you're calm and relaxed, it's nice and slow and deep.
Exactly. So the book says we can actually regulate our nervous system by controlling our breath.
Through breath work.
Yes. Things like diaphragmatic breathing
Right.
or alternate nostril breathing.
Those can be so calming. They can really help reduce stress, improve focus,
Yeah.
cultivate inner peace.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. Okay, let's move on to the chakras.
The chakras, those energy centers along the spine,
Yes. The book really gets into them.
and how each one has specific qualities and functions,
And if they're blocked, it can create problems.
physically and mentally,
Right. So the book goes through each chakra in detail.
explaining what it represents and how to tell if it's out of balance.
It really encourages us to explore this whole energy dimension of ourselves.
To think about these invisible forces that are influencing our well-being.
Exactly. And the book also talks about the hara.
The hara, that energy center in the lower abdomen.
Right. It's all about vitality and being grounded.
It's interesting how different cultures interpret these energy centers.
It is. Like in Japan, they connect the hara to harakiri.
That ritual suicide.
Yeah, which was considered an honorable death.
Wow.
Right. So let's talk about aging and death.
Big topics.
The book has a really interesting perspective on what constitutes a natural death.
What does it say?
It goes beyond just dying from old age.
Okay.
It's more about living in harmony with nature.
Living in alignment.
Yes. And consciously letting go when it's time.
Not clinging to life.
Exactly. It's about accepting the natural cycle of life and death.
And approaching death with grace.
Yes. And the book even tackles some really sensitive topics like euthanasia and suicide.
Those are tough conversations.
They are. But the book encourages us to be compassionate.
And to respect individual choice when it comes to end-of-life decisions.
Exactly. Are you ready to dive even deeper?
Always.
The book explores the nature of consciousness
Okay.
and suggests that humanity has the potential to evolve.
To evolve beyond our current limitations.
Yes. It envisions a future where science and spirituality come together.
To create a more conscious and enlightened society.
Exactly. It's a pretty amazing vision.
It is.
And the book even proposes this radical idea of scientific birth.
Scientific birth.
Yeah, like babies conceived in labs,
Wow.
potentially eliminating all the problems of natural childbirth.
That's a big idea.
It is.
Yeah.
And maybe it could even lead to a more evolved human species.
This book really pushes the boundaries.
It does. It makes you rethink everything
It challenges us to expand our thinking.
about health, about healing, about the future.
And it reminds us that we're constantly evolving.
Yeah,
That the potential for growth and transformation is limitless.
so true. And before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to mention one more thing that really stuck with me.
That's that.
The book talks about living in alignment with nature,
Oh, yeah, I remember that part.
not just our external environment, but our own inner nature too.
Right, like tuning in to our body's rhythms,
Yeah.
honoring our intuition.
Making choices that support our well-being.
It's like tapping into that inner wisdom that we all have,
Yeah.
but we often ignore it.
We do.
Yeah,
The book reminds us that we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
that we're all interconnected.
Yes. It's a call to reconnect with our true nature
To live in harmony with ourselves and the world around us.
and to remember that we're all in this together. This has been such a thought-provoking deep dive. This book really goes deep. It's not about just giving us quick fixes or easy answers.
No, not at all.
It's more like an invitation to start this journey of self-discovery and healing.
A journey that goes way beyond just the physical.
Yeah, it explores how everything is connected.
Mm.
Our mind, our body, our spirit.
It's a process, not a destination, right?
Right. And it encourages us to embrace every part of ourselves.
The good and the bad, the light and the shadow.
Exactly. And to see that even the tough stuff can help us grow and transform.
And we don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, there's so much wisdom and support out there.
If we're willing to open ourselves up to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like from ancient traditions to modern science.
Spiritual teachers or communities.
Yeah, there's so many resources to help us.
And sometimes the best healing comes from within.
Like connecting with our own inner wisdom.
That voice that knows what we truly need.
Yeah, it's about trusting ourselves, listening to our bodies and intuition.
Making choices that align with our values.
This book really made me think. What about you? What parts resonated most with you?
I think for me, it was the emphasis on wholeness. Like the idea that true health is not just about not being sick.
Yeah.
And about creating balance in every aspect of our being.
It's so easy to get caught up in trying to fix things.
Or focus on just the symptoms.
But this book reminds us to take care of ourselves as a whole. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually.
It's a powerful shift.
It is. And it reminds us that we're not just physical beings.
We're so much more than that.
Right. We have emotions, thoughts, and a spiritual side that all need attention.
This book really encourages that holistic view.
Going beyond what traditional medicine usually focuses on.
Recognizing how much our thoughts and emotions impact our well-being.
It's about expanding our understanding of what health really means.
This deep dive has been quite the exploration.
It has. We've covered so much.
From the placebo effect to meditation and breath work.
Mindful eating, the human energy system, chakras.
We even got into consciousness and the future of humanity.
But I think the most important thing we can take away from this
is that we have more control over our health than we think.
we have the power to heal ourselves.
This book gives us the tools and encouragement to do that.
To explore different approaches, tap into our own wisdom, and make choices that support our well-being.
So as we wrap up, think about what resonated most with you.
Maybe there's a practice you want to try or a new perspective you want to embrace.
Whatever it is, keep exploring, keep learning, keep healing.
Trust yourself and remember that you have the power to create a life filled with vibrancy and meaning.
It's been an honor to share this deep dive with you.
Thanks for joining us. We hope it's inspired you to continue on your own path to wholeness.
Until next time, may you be well.
And may your journey be filled with joy, meaning, and purpose.